Hi there, it's Ginger Bell. It is Friday, March 20th, and this message is for Flatten the Curve, Not the Spirit video series we started. Just an update. Yesterday, Thursday, California announced that they would require everyone to stay in place, and we have currently about 10,000 cases in the US, 150 deaths, and we are all working just to keep each other safe. So I hope you enjoy this weekend with my friend Eddy Perez as he shares some of his insight into staying positive. Have a good weekend. We will drop another video on Monday, and let's all work to flatten the curve, not the spirit. Hey there, it's Ginger Bell, founder of Edgy Marketing and The Mortgage List, and I am here on an episode of a brand new show that we've started, March 2020, that we're calling Flatten the Curve, Not the Spirit. And the whole idea in putting this together is to make it through the pandemic that we're in the middle of and see to the other side and focus on being positive. And there's no one more positive that I know of in the industry than our friend, Mr. Eddy Perez.
How are you?
I'm good. Glad to have you on here. And you're back in Atlanta. I just saw you a couple weeks ago in Atlanta. So glad to see you again. But, one of the things and the reason I started this is because there's a lot of great leaders like you who are very involved in our industry. I know you're very involved with MBA and the Mortgage Action Alliance, and of course, all that you do with EPM and sending your messages out there. So I just wanted to be able to have a conversation with you to be able to share with everyone about what you're doing and what they can do to be able to stay positive through this wild and crazy time. So just starting with that, number one, hey, what are you doing to stay positive?
Nothing that you do is going to change. That's I think when people realize that you yourself are not going to change the trajectory of the coronavirus in the sense of it's not going to go away. I think we all, if we could, would have a magic wand to end it right now.
Yeah.
But not. So I think you take the thing about being positive is you take an education stance, not a lecturing type education stance, but just a, hey, here are 5 tips. Like we're rolling out to the team, some research showed that staying hydrated is the best thing you can do because water, if you stay very hydrated, water will push it into your stomach and then the virus is dead. Take your vitamins, in particular A, D, C, and zinc. Those are good things. Take some multivitamins.
Yep.
Eat healthy, as crazy as it sounds, things that'll keep your immune system, especially carbohydrates. Sugar and all that kind of feed all these sicknesses. So to stay off some of that, eat your greens at this point, basically, is what's saying.
Right.
Keep a little bit of some social distancing. Look, I'm a very extroverted person. I'm a guy that likes to give hugs, high fives, have fun. It's been a struggle for me, but it's one of those, I'm not worried if I get it because I think, when you look at the statistics at my age and how I try to keep myself healthy, I do okay. It's my mother's 83. I don't want to be a carrier that didn't affect me and then it gets to her and kills her.
Exactly.
No different than one thing that we did here as an organization was our receptionist was pregnant. Now she's young, but it's one of those things, could you live with yourself as a leader, as an organization, if somebody pregnant, somebody that was pre-exposed in your company came in? So we just basically said, look, since you can't do your job from home because you're the receptionist and you take care of stuff, go home, rest for the next 6 weeks. And you don't have to worry about pay because I know that she's young, her and her husband, they're only in their early 20s. Don't worry about it. Don't stress, but go deliver your child and make sure it's okay. Because I know as a leader, I couldn't live with myself if somebody brought it here.
Exactly. Yeah. And those are the kind of things, and taking care of your team, with your people, with your tribe, whatever you call them, to make sure that you're doing that. And it's not just a matter of taking care of your team, for those people that are a part of, your organization, but your team as far as your community. And,
Sure.
You're very good at that and making sure that people are okay. And I know you check in on people all the time. You send messages all the time and, just to check in. So it's important to be able to do that, to check in with people.
Yeah. And in one video that I saw today that Anthony Casa had with Barry Habib, he said something, it was like around the 10 or 12 minute mark. He goes, we really need to be kind to each other during this time.
Yeah.
especially from this industry. You know, we have huge volume that's coming in. We don't know exactly what's going to happen. The warehouse banks, some of them having challenges. Some mortgage companies are having huge challenges because they're having huge margin calls. And the originators have to really understand that there aren't people gouging. There aren't people doing this. Yes, some lenders rose interest rates, but they had to. What are they going to do? Keep taking volume and then never close your loan? Then how big of an a-hole are they for that?
Right.
You know, you just can't. This is not a time to let, you know, I'm a big fan of always the consumer and empowering the consumer. But if the consumer is driving you nuts for something, now is not the time.
Right.
You know, terms are amazing. You know, it's now you're actually going to hear about service that we haven't heard in the last couple of years. That's actually going to be important again. You know, were people prepared? Did people get their teammates to buy in and work extra hours? Because that's what's going to prevent you from being 10 days in underwriting to 5.
Right.
You know, most of the time, you know, 48 hours is kind of the standard for underwriting. But I'm going to tell you, it's probably going to become 5 to 7 days. It's going to be not viewed as bad as it was.
Well, and looking at the long term of it too, because we're just at the beginning of this. This is going to have a serious impact on everything that's happening with our economy. And as an industry, you know, when rates are low, we're going to continue to be busy. I think you had a post out the other day that was, you know, looking to Q4 and saying, okay, you know, that we're going to be in this for a while. So it's not a matter of, it's not, you know, it's like, oh my gosh, it's going to be gone tomorrow. It's like, no. We're hoping that the coronavirus is going to be gone tomorrow. And
the coronavirus will, but the effects are going to last for a while.
Right.
I mean, the Fed slashed interest rates to 0. That doesn't mean your mortgage is at 0. However, there was something very, very crucial that happened. They're buying bonds again, mortgage-backed securities again. That is going to drive interest rates lower or keep them really low for a while.
Right.
Because what I think people don't understand is 50% of loans can be refinanced right now. 50%. That's 5.3 trillion. On a good year, this industry can handle 2.5 to 3 trillion. On a amazing year, everybody's working to the hill, efficiencies are up. And then you got refinances about another 1.2, 1.5 trillion. There's no way in 1 year this industry can absorb $6-7 trillion.
Right.
Just impossible. It's impossible. So this is going to be around for a while. I think QE4 is going to last because not only did they say they're going to buy 200, but they also said that they're not going to let their portfolio go down. So in other words, loans that get paid off, they're going to put it back on. So that 200 is a new 200, so there will be no runoff. So they're going to be buying more as those refinance up, as well as the Fed definitely unlocked a lot of liquidity that had been tied up because of Dodd-Frank. They had to have a 10% threshold of capital that was locking up about 1.2 trillion. That's now been unleashed. So I think you will see a net effect that's going to last a while, not just low interest rates, but as well as great home buying abilities, great cash out. It's just, it's in due time. It just, people have to be patient right now. And I know it's tough because you turn on the news, you're going to go crazy. Customers are hitting you up. You know, some customers really think the interest rate's at 0 because they heard negative interest rates over in Europe, but it's not here in America. But they're still, like I said to a friend of mine on a post today, dude, they're still extremely low, man. I mean, they are low. I mean, quoting anybody, high 2s to low 3s is pretty crazy.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think that whole education part too is so important, you know, and thinking about communicating, not just with your team, but what you're doing with your real estate agents and, you know, what you're doing as far as, you know, just outgoing messages. So looking at how you're doing that, you know, part of the challenge too, you know, you're home working virtually. You know, if you're a mortgage broker, you're probably hopefully used to being able to do that. For some, they are, some they're not.
I'm at the office though, by the way.
Yeah, you're at the office. And you have that great view at the office. But, you know, and part of that, so, you know, talking about that, some people have, you know, opted to go virtual. You know, some people haven't opted to go. Some are doing, you know, I talked to someone earlier today and they're doing flex as far as how many people are in the office.
Yeah.
And so, it's like on certain days, you're working from home, and then other days, and having some of that flexibility, I think, is important to be able to do that.
No, I definitely think that, extraordinary times calls for extraordinary measures. And like I said, this is a lot different. This resembles '08, but this is the other side. '08, they didn't know if there'd be capitalism or an economy left.
Right.
This one, there's going to be some damage that's done to it, unfortunately. Some of it, I think, a little overboard, because I'm not saying that this isn't serious. I'm not insensitive. However, H1N1, SARS, those were a lot more serious.
Right.
And you just didn't see as much. This time, now look, I understand, we've gotten smarter 10 years down the road. Hey, I get that, to be more cautious, but I do think we're going to deliver ourselves some wounds that may, had we gone a little bit slower with everything, may have taken it down. However, there was pandemonium, with all the media coverage. I mean, it's just, think about it. Nobody can find toilet paper, which I still cannot get over and understand that one. Why you can find bread, milk, everything that people joke about, but I have no idea. Like, I hate to say it, I know this sounds funny, but I even asked, like, does this possibly cause diarrhea or something? And they said no. And
No,
I'm like,
not remotely.
how much toilet paper do you need?
And it's not even a cold. It's really not even a cold. So it's not like you're going to need it. It's funny. And, I was just in Atlanta the last couple of weeks, spent time with you and your team. And you're great enough to sponsor esports team that came into Atlanta from Latin America. And so thank you for that.
My pleasure.
They got moved into their house and got set up, and welcome to the coronavirus. So, but
poor guys, first experience in America, and it's the coronavirus.
I know, right? But you know what? They're doing well. They're going to hopefully start competing, online. That's a great thing about esports, is they can. There's some certain things that need to happen in order for them to be able to do that remotely on a professional level.
Sure.
But I left on Atlanta on Friday and got back to Portland. Saturday morning, got up to, go pick up a few things because I'd been gone for a few weeks. And 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning, and there's lines out the door. And it's like, yeah, there's no toilet paper. It's like, I don't understand. I can send you the pictures. There was like no canned food, and there was no chicken breasts. And it's like, well, now this is interesting. What are people buying during? It's like, what are you stocking up on?
Yeah, no, it's, look, I've seen that some states have shut down restaurants, but then they're still allowing you to go pick up food. Because one of the things I spoke with my wife last night, I said, look, they can't shut down restaurants because I don't know the percentage, but I have to imagine restaurants in today's environment have to be probably close to 50% of the food supply. Even myself, I eat at home, unfortunately, sad to say, only a couple times a month at best.
Yeah.
So they shut down the restaurants, I'm in some pretty big trouble. So the governor said he was going to let people, they did suggest do maybe more pickup than stay in, do things of that nature, keep a little bit of a distance, which I completely understand. But I think you just got to be smart about it. And also understand that if you get it, let's say the worst thing comes, isolate yourself, quarantine it, but that doesn't mean it's a death sentence. That's what I think a lot of people need to understand is this isn't the bubonic plague. This isn't even, Spanish flu that killed in the 1900s, 150, 200 million.
Right.
Just be very cognizant that I'm not going to say it won't be tough. I've never, from the handful of times I've gotten the flu in my life, it's never been fun. So I didn't say it's going to be fun, but I think you can definitely overcome it.
Yeah. Well, and I think from the understanding, and, we're behind the curve, really in addressing this, and in arriving here, is, looking at places like Italy that just don't have enough supplies. So we're having to make decisions as far as, who gets a respirator and who doesn't get the respirator. So I think the number one thing is to make sure that there's resources available, and, and then they'll get through that. But the only thing really that we can control is how we react.
Sure.
And that's it. So, what are give me three things that, you're talking to somebody, it's like, and our kids too. You've got kids. They're out of school. And
This couldn't have been a better. I mean, they're off for like a month.
yeah. But what are they thinking? Because for some kids, you know, my son Blaine goes to school in Ohio. He went back on Friday to school, and he had called his friends to see if they'd come and pick him up. And they're like, we're not coming to the Detroit airport. It's like, it's the airport. You're just going to do a drive-by and pick him up. And they're like, no, 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 no. And so these are, you know, kids that are in college. So, you know, how about little kids at home, you know, balancing that, because a lot of people are having to deal with that too. So, you know, what are the things that you're telling your kids?
You know, I'm just telling them to be cognizant, you know, of the situation. Definitely wash your hands, be careful, but take this moment to enjoy, because they get 2 weeks off. And even though they're going to be doing online learning, it's a lot easier than having to go to school and follow through the process.
Right.
I'm just saying, look, because, you know, I had my one son that was kind of starting to go there, like was going to drive himself into a tizzy. I said, look, son, I'm not saying that this is good, but what I'm saying is it's not as bad as H1N1. And I understand that this one can be a little bit more contagious and there's some effects that hit you harder. However, they've basically found almost nothing in kids under 20 years old. And then 20 to 40, if you're in good health, it really is about your health. I mean, I've even told them this is your time to drink more water, take your vitamins, eat right.
Exercise.
Your body's like anything else. If it is better prepared, then it can defend easier.
Right. And that's it. And that a lot of that begins with your mental stability and your mental health, as far as saying, so I'm going to do, get up in the morning and work out. So if you're working from home, you know, go for a walk, or, you know, go get yourself some, you know, dumbbells to do at home, or do push-ups.
Yeah.
Or, hey, all those cans of beans that you got at the store, guess what? You can start lifting those for a while. You know, those kind of things.
Start throwing toilet paper in trees. I don't know. That's how we're going to add value to our house. I saw that meme. How do you add 10,000 to your house? Throw toilet paper in the tree.
You're wasting the toilet paper. Actually, it was funny. Sue Woodard had posted on Facebook. I think she must have managed to get to the store too and found no toilet paper. And she wondered if the box of Kleenex would work. And I'm like, that's what I got.
Okay, so you have a friend that's funny. A friend of mine said, so there's no toilet paper, but he's like, hey, worst case scenario, he said, I went and got baby wipes loaded to the hill. This is why I made a comment on one of the posts I saw. I said, this is when bidets would have been perfect, where there wouldn't even been a concern at that point.
Yeah, well, there's the next business to get into then. Hey, get the bidet. Yep. What are you reading right now? Because I know, you know, you watch a lot of videos, you listen to a lot of podcasts, and you're very busy. But are you reading anything right now, or would you recommend anything?
Yeah, I'm reading The Intentional Legacy.
Okay.
So it was a book that was recommended online when I talked about the legacy of my parents and my family, and somebody said I should read it. I just ordered it, and since the family's going to be going down to the beach with this extended vacation, and I'm going to be working a lot of hours. Huh?
As long as it's not closed.
Yeah, that's true. As long as it's not closed, which who knows. But I'm going to get a lot of time because I'm going to have to be working a lot of hours. I mean, we just canceled our spring break trip. Not because that they closed it, because we were going to go in the Caribbean. I just said, look, in this time of unprecedented times, I have to be here for the troops. Even if I'm just standing here, even if I'm doing videos like this, even if I'm just encouraging them. I've always said as a leader, you can't ask your troops to do half as much as you're willing to do. So I'm asking my underwriters to work more hours, take family time away. I'm asking closers. I'm asking disclosures. I'm asking sales to step in and do a little bit more thorough of a job. I've got to be willing to sacrifice the most as the president and CEO of the organization. I've got to be doing these things, and that's only the right thing to do.
Absolutely. And that's what it comes down to, is do the right thing.
Always.
Yep. So whatever that is, and, you know, think about those things in your community that you can do too. You know, it's like if you have a neighbor who, you know, is in elder neighbor maybe can't get out, think about making, something for them to eat and taking it over to them, or, giving
Picking
them,
up groceries for them. Yeah.
yeah, pick up their groceries and, just let them know this is our time to really, support each other and to help each other and to stick together.
I mean, this is definitely a time to be American. And that's one of the things about Americans is, there's a line that I heard today that said, sick together, stick together. So if we're sick together, we're going to stick together. Either way, I think that's very true. I mean, I think that's what makes the American spirit and the culture of being an American so different, is because we do have that unity and collaboration, even though we have our differences. And I understand through history at times, we've, like anything else, we're human, so we've made mistakes amongst each other. But I will tell you that no American pacifiers it and doesn't take it serious for the next generation. It definitely pushes the narrative to try to do better always.
Right.
I think that's the difference with this country. And I think this is definitely a time like, September 11th, after the '08 crash. I mean, I think these are definitely times that we need to come together, collaborate, and be more. I don't think this is a time to be decisive and divisive against each other.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's very true. I think just the nature of who you are comes out at a time like this.
Yeah.
And so, truly, reach for the higher and be the higher. And that's, as an industry, who we are. So it's a matter of coming together. So one question I have for you, and I know you're very involved with the MBA and you're very involved with AIM and a lot of different, agencies, and get a lot of communication. And so especially for our broker community who may not be having that access to so much of that information, what are you doing to be able to share information with them about what's happening, and how can they get more of that information?
So I am sitting on some information I can't share yet today because it hasn't been put out there, because it's things that the MBA is definitely working on. But, the broker community has to understand that the MBA is definitely there for them. And I know that there's a huge misconception because it stands for the Mortgage Bankers Association. Right. However, like I've always said, is the biggest constituency in the Mortgage Bankers Association is not the banks. That's a misconception. It's the independent mortgage banker. And as I saw statistics at the end of last year, 91% of loans that were given to the broker community for the consumer came from the independent mortgage banker. And the independent mortgage banker has seats on the board more than anybody else. They have their own executive council. So things that are affecting them are definitely on the forefront that's going to be helping the broker that's out there, because the past chairman was Chris George of the CMG that has a huge broker channel. And the president, not the next coming president, that's Susan Stewart, but the one after Christie is the president of mortgage for Flagstar. That's one of only a couple banks that are left in the space that are lending to the wholesale community. So there's definitely things that they're working on, because we definitely have concerns with the VOEs. We have concerns with the notes, because the notes have to come back to the lender. And then we have to get it to the warehouse line. So are we going to run into some capacity issues at some point because of if there's some sort of shutdown? I hope not, because I don't think capitalism needs to stop. I understand that it needs to be more aware and maybe more scarce, spread out, and maybe at home. However, we can't stop, because I believe the opportunity for the consumer who we're there for is amazing. I mean, I think in 6 months, the stimulus from the people that are going to buy homes brand new, that they may be able to buy more now because it's less, or save money and spend it somewhere else, or more importantly, the people that you're going to refinance and save them money, I think it's going to be a tremendous stimulation to the economy, and I don't want that to slow down. So the MBA is definitely working on that. There's a concern out there because it's already been started to say that because appraisers are in their 60s on average, that's the average age of an appraiser. Yep. They don't want to go into somebody's home. Exactly. Or the consumer doesn't want them to go in their home.
Yeah, I mean, so it goes both ways.
There's definitely some reliefs that have been requested and put in play, and we're just waiting to see if it can get done. But what I will say is this, the FHFA, FHA, VA, USDA, they understand that this is, the great thing about our industry is it's bipartisan. Both political parties genuinely like it. Democratic Party is more for some of the housing initiatives. Republican Party is for less regulation. That works out great because both sides of the aisles definitely want to make it advantageous for the consumer, and they do not want to affect the consumer. That is the good thing that I can say, that these regulators do not want the consumers affected. There's processes that go in place, but to the broker community, understand that definitely the Mortgage Bankers Association is fighting and definitely out there talking to everybody, because I was last week in midwinter when all this was going down, and this was only a collection of about 100 to 150 of MBA folks and some of the top lenders in the country and top influential people in the industry. And we were all talking about what's going on, what are the challenges, what are the pitfalls. People are masterminding together, like, okay, do you work from home? Do you have those capabilities? How did you pull it off? Because I definitely think the next, some people are saying 8 to 12 weeks. I'm going to say at least 4 to 12 weeks. There'll be some absolute new norm, which is definitely not the norm.
Right. Well, and I think it makes us aware too of maybe, you know, some of the things as far as a society that just to be aware of in general. And I think it'll be a while before we see that change, just because of the heightened, you know, reaction that we've had to all of this. So, you know, it'll be a while before travel comes back. It'll be a while before, you know, people feel like, you know, high-fiving and hugging and, you know, doing all the stuff that we love to do.
There may be forever a slight change there too.
And maybe a generational thing. So we never know, but you know, the main thing is stay positive, stay informed,
always,
and you know, look to your lenders. You know, make sure keep in touch with them, check in with them. You know, make sure and follow them. You know, you do a lot of great information that's out there on your LinkedIn page and your Facebook page, and the information that goes out. So those are kind of things to focus on as well, and have fun. Don't forget
always
to relax and have fun.
I mean, these are good times. I mean, think about it. You know, as a mortgage professional, you're in the process of getting people lower payments. Like I said, refinance or even the house of their dreams all of a sudden got to be less expensive. Maybe that's more dinners with the family. Maybe buying that extra car. Enjoy it. It's a good thing. I understand that right now it's maybe tough, but 2008, from those people that were in it and survived it like myself, that was far worse when volumes were sinking, appraisals were not coming in. I mean, you used to get a loan, sure, but then you used to like get the appraisal, be like, all right, okay, let me, oh, value, it made it, or oh my God, it only came in 5,000, 10,000 short. Okay, I'll be able to close this loan.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, those,
it lasted.
You know, one day out of the news, Fannie and Freddie gets these. I'm telling you, it's a lot better of a place today that we sit in, and it must be enjoyed. Do I think there'll be some headaches with it? Of course, because you can't dump this much volume as well as this challenge without it being it. However, I still think it's a blessing. I still think it's a wonderful opportunity to make sure that consumers are becoming more successful.
Absolutely. So, Eddy, thank you so much for taking time. I know you are busy, and I definitely appreciate your time and all that you do for the industry and for, you know, just keeping us all sane and laughing and informed and all this.
You gotta have fun with it.
Yeah, you gotta have fun with it. So.
I'm starting to call it the Blue Moon virus. That was taken by one of my guys. You know, the Heineken virus. Just, you know, got to make it fun. I mean, you know, if it's named after, it's not really named after a beer. It's Corona is crown in Spanish, and it's got a crown on it, how the disease looks under a microscope. But you got to have fun. You got to keep things. You got to keep, because, you know, definitely now more than ever, we're going to be spending a lot more time with our work family than our other families. So definitely enjoy the company you keep and stay positive. There's no reason to be negative, not living in this country, not given so many opportunities.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Eddy. And this has been an episode of Flatten the Curve and Not the Spirit.